more question on the previous slide. So here you have told, right, the must and should date column has to be there.
Hmm.
Likewise, is there any other columns?
No, see, okay. So when I say that Dataroma tells that it cannot be uploaded is
Mhm.
so no, okay, I'm wrong. When you have data, when we talk of data, we talk of measurements and dimensions together, right?
Yes.
So that's where we tell it as a data or a data sheet. But if there is no measurement in my data and if there is no date in my data, have we seen any such sheets like this? Have you seen any such sheets that you can tell me which didn't have a measurement, didn't have a date? Have
No.
you seen any such? You have think.
Uh, Nothing as such, but sometimes we missed out date column. However, we have start date or end date sometimes.
Mhm.
So can we map that start date and end date? Maybe
Yeah,
you
no.
have observed that while extracting the raw report from Facebook, we get reporting start date and reporting end date.
Okay.
Yeah, at that time, can we map that date one to campaign start date?
See, it doesn't. It is not about what is in the data or what is not coming in the data. There, like if you have like a start date or any sort of dates that you want to map in Datorama, you can go ahead and map it as a date. If you don't have like regular days or regular months, regular uh, things, if it is something that you and the client have chosen as this has to be the date factor, then you can go and map it as a date.
Okay.
So that's not a problem. If you think that start date mapping will help me with slicing the other components in my data, you can go ahead and map the date.
Yeah.
That's not something that is. But coming back to the question, you have seen a data set which doesn't have a measurement and doesn't have a date, and that is your classification sheets, right?
Yes.
Yes, so your classification sheets are something you won't find because that's an instruction. That's an instruction that is given that these codes mean these names, these delimited codes mean this, NYC means New York, IND means India. So your classification sheets doesn't have a measurement. It neither has a date. And Datarama does upload that kind of data too. Like it's all dimensions data set which gets uploaded. When there is a measurement in your data along with dimensions, there has to be a date column, or else Datorama won't upload it. But if there is no measurement in your data, if there is no date in your data even, you can still upload it, and it is considered as a all dimensions data set, which which is always used as a classification data set for slicing or dicing your data. I have an example in this training whereby I'll show you that
So
kind
at
of
the
an
time,
example.
the aggregation part will be missing, right? So whenever we apply pivot for the particular data stream,
Mhm.
then there will be option to select the date.
No, this is a directional data only. This is a dimensional data only, right? So this is something whereby say okay, so you have media buy key or placement ID in your data, and you have say campaign ID, you have site, you have impression, click, spend. Now what I want is I have few more columns that I want to integrate to this. So say suppose I have media by targeting. I have media by um, size. Okay, do these two columns. I have media by targeting and media by size and media by key that I want to integrate into the data set that you already have. Media by key, campaign ID, site ID, impression, click, spend. In
Yeah.
that, I want to have media by size and media by targeting. Now, how will I do? I have media by key, right? So my media by key and media by key will be mapped, and then there is a functionality called parent-child relationship over here. So if I do a parent-child relationship, what happens is media by key and media by key gets mapped together, and I can have my data or my measurements sliced by media by, as I can slice it by media by key, media by name, campaign ID, campaign name, site ID, site name. Now when my media by ID and media by ID is from both the data sets have been mapped or have been mapped together, I can slice the impression clicks by media by size and media by targeting as well. So it doesn't necessarily mean that I need to upload a date and a measurement in my dimensions data set as well. I can keep it as
Okay,
a dimension, and what I can do is it's a directional data which helps me integrate further dimensions in the existing one.
got that,
Make
Vinod. Thank
sense?
you. Yeah.
So yeah, please do participate. Now we have variable dimensions. I was talking of variable dimensions. Variable dimensions are not part of any entity. When I say part of entity, entities are like media by key, which we saw, right? That this is an entity, a media by or a placement ID. This is an entity. A placement is an entity. We have the placement ID, we have the placement name, we have the placement attributes. So these are part of the entity placement. Now, if say there was a campaign, so campaign has an ID. So the entity is campaign, and then we have campaign ID, campaign name, campaign um, whatever, campaign attributes, whatever are the campaign attributes, campaign contents, and campaign creatives, and all those things. So every name and attribute pertains to a certain at a certain entity, and a key, a name, an attribute pertains to a certain entity called media buy or campaign or site, whatever. But variable dimensions are those which are true for the entire data set, like like device, desktop or mobile, uh, country, operating system, or device types, mobile or computers. These are variable dimensions which basically cater to the entire data set or the entire workspace. So that's called a variable dimension. We will discuss why it is called a variable dimension and what relationship makes it a variable dimension. Okay. Yeah, so such as location or device category, they pertain to the entire data set rather than a specific entity. Till this slide, just keep in mind that entities are those which has an entity key, an entity name, and entity attributes. And one entity can have a unique entity key, has one entity name, and one unique attribute to it. And not, there cannot be any kind of duplicates. There cannot be one entity has five entity names and then four entity attributes. No, it has to be always unique. If it is unique, if an entity name is
Huh?
unique, if an entity name is unique, then sorry, okay, then it is basically considered as a name for a certain ID. If an attribute is unique to a key, it is said to be unique to that key, and then only it becomes an attribute, or else it doesn't become one. So an entity key will have one entity name and one entity attribute to it. Okay, at a given point of time. And variable dimensions do not cater to a single entity, specific entity. Rather than that, it is part of the entire workspace. Okay. And yeah, variable dimensions are not mandatory in a data set as well. So let's recap. So data is bifurcated into dimensions and measurements. Dimensions are of two types: entity dimensions and general dimensions. Entity dimensions have an entity key, name, and attribute. General dimensions are date and variable. With dataset types. What are dataset types? We have broadcasting data, we have social data, we have search data, we have conversion data, we have web analytics data, we have planned data, we have uh, what else? We have programmatic data. We have various data types, right? We have dataset types. One is considered as social, one is considered search, one is offline, one is sales. So the various dataset types. So broadcasting data is much different than social data, and and then search data is different from social data as well. So these are they are different from one another. What is the point over here? Point is each data set is different from one another, but it has a main entity. Every data set will have a main entity for itself, and it will have a set of dimensions and measurements. Now you'll see that the main entity is is different in different data sets, but there are times where we merge the data based on shared entities between both the uh, between two data sets, and when you have shared entities you can go ahead and map together the entities. In one it can be a main entity, but in the other data set it can be a shared entity, which can be mapped together, and then both the data sets can be merged and sliced and diced together. There comes my favorite slide. So this is basically your ads data set. So whenever you upload in Datorama, search data, social data, display data, they are all clubbed as ads data sets. When you upload a web analytics data, it is uploaded as a web analytics data set. But when you add anything and there are data set types which we will see. But when you upload a sales data, maybe sales data is not a digital data, right? It's not an ads data set, or it's not a web analytics data set. So it gets clubbed as generic data set types. So generic data set types are nothing but data set types which do not fall under the defined categories in Datorama, but they are clubbed as generic, which makes them which is identical, but then in generic, everything is everything um, is generic data model fields, whereby you need to figure out what all what all are your main entities, are your shared entities, so on and so forth. Cool. So let's look into the various dimensions and measurements that gets attached to the various data sets, right? So in my ads data set, I have the media buy and clicks, campaign, creative site, etc. Dimensions for conversions are conversion tags. Everyone knows what is a conversion tag, or else we can keep it as a discussion while we are wrapping up the session someday. The training, we can talk about conversion tags. If you already know, then good. Else, and if you already know, you can enlighten the entire crowd here, or else we can keep it as a discussion at the end of the training. Um, yeah, so in conversion tag, we have conversion tags, we have media by campaign, and in measurements, we have the conversions, post impression revenue, post click transactions. Search keywords, we have the search keyword, the URL and placements. So, do you see any common factor in these three dimensions and measurements?
Media buy.
Media buy, correct. So we were talking in the previous slide that we do bring in all the data sets together by means of the shared entities, and over here we see that media buy is one of the shared entities. If we map it together, we can basically get access to all these dimensions and measurements which are there. Now, why media buy? Why media buy is being considered um, as one of the as the most important factor, or the main entity for an ads data set, and not campaign or not site. Why it is considered as the most granular part of the data. Now let's
Because
verify that.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
because for an advertiser, he wants to advertise like it might be through search or through social or through display. So what he does is like he wants the advertisement space in the website. So media buy is important. The placement is important.
Yeah. So that's true. That's true theoretically, but we need to establish it, right? You cannot tell me that this is important. I'll say that no, that is also important, or Anil will say that this is also important, and we will have a fight. But we need to establish, right? So how will you establish your fact? You will establish it through relationships. Let's take one of the dimensions in the ads data set called campaigns, and let's see how is campaign related to a placement. Okay, so one campaign can be related to multiple media buys, right? So a single campaign can be advertised in multiple placements, but one placement is attributed to only one campaign. Correct? No, yes. Okay, let's look at it
Yes.
once again. One campaign masterclass has can be masterclass is one campaign, right? But it is advertised in three different places. Say Gordon Ramsay campaign, James Patterson campaign, anything else like any other creatives. These creatives can be displayed in a publisher website. It can be displayed in the top banner, the side banners, bottom of the page, middle of the page, anywhere, like in an on the click ad, anywhere it can appear. So that creative appears in multiple placements, correct? So one campaign masterclass is displayed in multiple media buys or placements. But this one banner placement that we have on top of the page is attributed to the single campaign masterclass. Correct? So one campaign can get displayed in multiple media buys, but one media buy is attributed to only one campaign. Coming to site, okay? One site can have multiple media buys, as we saw the example of what was the site that we saw? New York Times, I guess. New York Times
Yeah.
being the site, yeah. So New York Times being the site can have multiple media buys to its page. So if you open, so go ahead and try it with Times of India. My favorite publisher website, dude. You need to find news in there. It's filled with placements and ads. So go ahead in Times of India site and see how many placement it has. Like two lines and it has an ad running. So now there can be a campaign, like if tomorrow, say suppose a new car gets launched, um, I see, like if you're a car enthusiast, Kia is launching its electric car pretty soon this month. So bookings have started already. Now, if this is like this is a news, this is something that Kia wants to promote. So Kia, what it will do is in that page, it will rent out 5 or 6 placements whereby it wants to show its ad. Now, Times of India being the publisher website is renting out all these placements, all these placeholders, right? So it has multiple placeholders in its page. or placements in its page where Kia is going to run its creative. So Times of India is the site and media buy is the placement placeholders or the placements. So one site can have multiple media buys, but one of those placement, one if I consider that one placement on top of the page, that is again attributed to only one site, correct? So one site can have multiple placement, but one placement is attributed to only one site. Clear? Not clear. Confusing. Yeah, I know it's confusing. So, okay, let's talk of these two and we will wrap up today because, or else you'll get overloaded. Let's talk of campaign. Okay, so now you have one campaign. Okay. Ad. Okay, Corning Gorilla Glass with something something, and this is an ad that is running in the Times of India. Um, Times of India thing, whereby this is an ad, right? Now, Times of India being the site, Times of India is the site, right? And this is a placement where this ad is running. Now, Times of India has three placements that we see. And if I scroll down or scroll up, it'll have um, thousands of placements in there, right? So this is my site, right?
Yes.
Once, so this site has multiple placements, multiple media buys. So one site is attributed to many numerous placements. So it's a one to many relationship, correct?
Okay. Correct.
It's a one to many relationship between the site and placements. However, if I talk of this, how is a media buy relationship with the site? One media buy is attributed to only one site. One
Okay.
site is attributed to many media buys. It's a one to many relationship. However, one media buy is attributed to one site only. That is a one to one relationship. Okay. So again, similarly, if I talk of campaigns, what happens in a campaign? Like you run the masterclass campaign. We saw the masterclass campaign, right?
Hmm.
You remember the masterclass campaign we saw? No.
Yes.
Let me
New York
go back.
Times.
New York Times. Wait, let me go back. Let's end it with these two today, but let's understand it pretty well. Ah, here. What did we say? That. Ah. So today, if it is a James Patterson, tomorrow it's a Gordon Ramsay. But what is my campaign? My campaign is masterclass. Yes, my campaign is masterclass, which is having James Patterson as the creative running. Tomorrow, the creative changes to Gordon Ramsay's creative, but my campaign remains the same. So one campaign can be can be related to multiple placements. Masterclass campaign has Gordon Ramsay, James Patterson, Sachin Tendulkar, Brian Lara, all these creatives under a single banner. I have created campaign and I have the creatives of all these things. I have creatives, matlab, I have the various ads running, right? So one campaign can be attributed to James Patterson, Gordon Ramsay, Sachin Tendulkar, Brian Lara, all these placements which are running the ad or the media buys. So one campaign is related to multiple media buys. However, Gordon Ramsay placement, if I talk of particularly, is attributed to only one one campaign, that is masterclass. So a campaign and media buy has a one-to-many relationship. However, a media buy and a campaign has a one-to-one relationship. Is it clear?
Yep.
Sure. because this is very important. Yeah, this is the most difficult thing to understand. It is not difficult, it is confusing to understand, but if you understand this concept is going to take you entire way till we end the training, till you're working, till the time you are working with Salesforce. These relationships, if you understand now and you become solid in it, you will never look back, because this is what we are going to do the entire session. We will talk of harmonization tools definitely, but everything comes in this framework where we understand the relationship between various entities, and we finalize this is my main entity and these are my shared entities. This is uh, what is the relationship between these, and we talk of them. So a campaign and media buy is a one to many relationship, because a campaign has multiple media buys. So a campaign and media buy has a one to many relationship. However, a media buy and campaign has a one to one relationship, because one placement attributes to only one campaign. A site can have multiple placements, multiple media buys, right? So a site and media buy has a one to many relationship. However, a media buy can be attributed to only one site, right? As it was with one campaign, a media buy attributes to only one site, so it's a one to one relationship. We will talk of the other things tomorrow, because I don't want to confuse you more with the other many to many relationships and stuffs coming up. But these are the things that will be helpful, and we will start tomorrow from this slide itself, and we will recap what we have learned regarding relationships, and we will take it forward from there. Correct?
Sure, Vinod.
Sure. Cool. I hope we don't have any more questions, because just think of like, just go to any of the publisher site that you want to. You go to Yahoo, you go to Google, not Google, go to Yahoo News, or Yahoo Finance, or things like that, or go to Times of India maybe, and just see an ad and try to verify the relationship with campaign and the site. And I think that this part will be clear for you. And if this part is clear for you, you are like, that's what I said, 75%. You went ahead in the training, and rest things are like, playing by this framework and getting the work done. So that's it from my side. Thank you so much, guys.